Hello, hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here. How are you? How is your summer going?
Fantastic. It's been very busy, so yeah, but it's good to be in anyway.
You just released 2 brand new songs. We've got Turn Up the Love, which we can see here, also Last Kiss. But I remember, really didn't come out very long ago at all, less than a year. Were you just inspired? You wanted to return, start putting music out right away?
I mean, it feels like a long time to us because obviously, you finished the record quite a long time before you release it. So yeah, it was about time for us to put something out.
Okay. I'm curious about how you're releasing this music. Obviously, these 2 new songs came at the same time. One is sort of this moody ballad about, heartache. The other one is about sort of feel good, put positivity out in the world. Why are you coming up with this sort of like dichotomy nature thing?
It felt like I really wanted to put the 2 sides of what we do out at the same time because I didn't want there to be such a separation between some of our kind of more ballady type songs and the kind of more like pop upbeat songs.
Right.
And I love singing those ballads and stuff. So I wanted just people to know that that's the kind of thing that is also my favorite stuff as well.
I did think about how maybe for you as an artist and also for your fans, body music was so down tempo, a lot of, inner thoughts, introspective. And then I remember was like kind of club banger after club banger. It is an interesting sort of way to give everybody what they want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's been quite a good idea. I might do it again.
You might do it again?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, is this going to be going forward? Do you have another batch of music coming? What's with that?
Yeah, we do. We have some tracks in the pipeline. So when this release has kind of done its little thing, we'll do some more.
That's awesome. Let's talk about Turn Up the Love, where it started. It feels oddly appropriate sort of in the news cycle we're in to just have, good feelings out there. I'm curious where that came from in this moment.
Well, I'll be honest with you. It definitely was inspired by the political climate, and I wasn't trying to say something political as opposed to like trying to talk about how it felt to be involved in that and what I could bring as a musician to try and help people who are going to be moving forward and changing things in the future, what kind of soundtrack they needed to help them make their decisions and just feel good and like they can actually make change, positive change, and believe in humanity and things like that.
You have a very interactive relationship with your fans on social media, and the reception to this has been extremely warm. What is it like to sort of be met with like that praise and say thank you? This is totally what we needed right now.
It's incredible because you have a kind of intention, and you don't know if it's going to fall short of what it was meant to do. So every time somebody says that they felt good when they listened to that song is exactly what I was trying to do.
I also love that it's coming out on the anniversary year of the Summer of Love, and it sort of echoes a sentiment the Beatles put out, which is all you need is love. I'm curious if we could talk maybe about your bigger influences, things you go to. Who are the big artists that have shaped you? Who was the first artist that maybe you said, I think I kind of want to do this?
Well, actually, the incredibly depressing Radiohead is definitely a huge influence on me. I just actually got given the new re-release of Okay Not Okay on vinyl for my birthday, so it was like very, very cool. And then there's the classics like Etta James, and I love Jeff Buckley as well, so it's quite varied. We listen to quite a lot of reggae and African music in my house, and then with Van Morrison and things like that, so it was very eclectic, I guess.
I saw recently on Twitter you sort of big upped both Atlanta and Insecure as great shows that you kind of are feeling very strongly about. Is that also because of the music, or why is it that those sort of strike you so strongly?
They are, I think, really pioneering a much more kind of thoughtful perspective on youth culture and music culture, and I think that was greatly needed. For me, it just hit the nail on the head in so many ways. Lots of the little jokes that they make in both of those shows just ring true to me. And of course, being a person of color, it's entertainment that isn't focused around the people of color in it. They just happen to be people of color. So, and that's really important. It just holds up as just some of the best TV that I've seen in years, and I love TV.
What else are you watching? Let's talk about that a little bit then.
I mean, obviously, I had a whole Game of Thrones day, and I mean, I'm actually watching Weeds at the moment, which is really old, and I never knew about it. But I think it's up there with Six Feet Under and those kind of shows.
Do you have interest in expanding into television, movies, other areas of the entertainment industry?
I mean, I have been going to acting training for over a year now, just for myself, because I enjoy it. And it was something I was doing before music. And I think it's always good to just keep, if you have interests, just keep developing them, and you get enjoyment out of them. If you just leave them stagnating, it's like, oh, I remember when I used to do painting or something like that, and I wish I could just pick up a paintbrush right now and feel free. And you can't if you haven't been really doing it.
I'm curious if maybe delving into acting in these classes has informed the way you write music in any way, like the character development or what you're willing to sort of express yourself as.
I'm not sure yet. I've really left it very raw and just for its own kind of expressive nature. I wonder how it's going to influence my writing, possibly because I think with acting training you are looking into yourself, and that's always something that happens in music as well. So they're probably going in tandem and helping me develop.
Right, that's awesome. I do want to talk a little bit more about maybe your social media platform. You're very open with fans. You're sort of always in conversation. You share a lot about what you're feeling. A couple days ago, you were even talking about, today I'm really doubting myself. I'm not feeling that good. What does that do for either your community or what do you kind of connect with in that way?
I guess what I'm trying to do is have a conversation about some of the realities that I think we all face, and to, I suppose, share the fact that even if maybe I look all together and put together in certain images and certain pieces of footage, that there's also a struggle that I'm going through that people can relate to. And I feel like transparency is very relevant to right now, because people are struggling to find themselves and find a footing in quite a fast-moving, commercialized community where people are kind of almost commodifying themselves. They don't, and it's hard to find out who you are as a sort of natural human being. So I always try and help as much as I can with that.
You spoke recently about maybe how the commodification, what you were just mentioning, of being an artist, finding a brand and then having to continuously sell that brand. How do you sort of keep that separate, or as your artist development sort of progresses and you say, this is what I want to do, but it's not the brand that I've sort of established, how do you kind of balance all of those moving parts?
I'm always trying to pull it back to something that is important to me and a platform for creativity. So yes, you can sell something, but not allowing the sales factor to come into the creation of something, especially an image or something like that, is a constant battle for me, and I kind of enjoy it. Mm-hmm. So it's not a bad thing for me, but it is definitely a challenge.
Does it get harder with the more hits? I mean, you guys debuted loudly in 2013. You've had things on the Billboard Hot 100. As your profile rises, is it more and more you have to kind of like recenter in that way?
Well, strangely, as we become more successful, I think that people have been looking to me to really show myself for who I really am, because the genuineness of taking from your real person really is just the best thing for everything, especially with music, which is so much about the artist.
You released Mean What I Mean on the last record. It was sort of this wonderful, danceable ode to consent. I'm curious, putting things out there like that in the world, we're just talking about how honest you are in all these other ways. Do you have nerves about what you're sharing, or is it always kind of a release and a positive experience?
I definitely had a lot of nerves, especially with Mean What I Mean. And I was really surprised that people enjoyed knowing that it was about a song about consent and also dancing to it. And that was really heartwarming for me. And it's definitely encouraged me to definitely move on and do something like Turn Up the Love, and believe that my listeners are really conscious people that are really going to change the future for everyone. And I'm just really excited to be making the soundtrack for those people.
I'd imagine you got some amazing feedback with that song, you know, stories from other women, like that conversation got started on the internet. How hard is it to sort of ingest all of those personal experiences at once, or is it sort of an outpouring of love in a way?
I think that I'm very attuned to people sharing with me, so it's never really too much for me. And I think people find that on a personal level with me. There's no one's ever told me anything that I couldn't handle, no matter how dark or over emotional. The only thing that I'm not interested in is shallowness and meanness and kind of short-sightedness.
We sort of live in an age of mean on the internet, comment sections, replies on Twitter, replies on Instagram. How do you sort of grapple with that when you've got hundreds of thousands of eyeballs on everything that you're putting out there?
I can only go from my own personal experience, and I don't know why, but most of the people that interact with me are nice people. I don't think it's an absolute given that being somebody in the public sort of social media domain means that you're automatically going to get hate. And I don't know what that's about. I don't know what the science is. I know that obviously if you become famous very, very, very quickly and you're just exposed to a huge mass audience, then you have no control over it. But we've grown so slowly purely by people sharing our music with their friends. So the way that people know about me is very kind of curated in a way by the people that are sharing.
Right. Maybe to go back to the new music a little bit, you guys have these 2 songs out. You mentioned earlier that maybe you do have some other stuff you're sitting on. Are we looking at an album in the pipeline? What are you sort of envisioning for the rest of the year?
Well, I was sitting by the water. I was just in Australia, actually. And I was starting to think about some of the things I've been talking about on social media. And I had an idea a while back for an album, like a themed album. And we've never done that before. And it kind of came out of the water back at my face as something that I really, really want to do. So hopefully once we've got some of the touring out of the way, and I think that's a massive challenge for artists at the moment, is combining touring with good writing. You can write, but can you write, you know? And so that I think that's my challenge, is to get that album out.
That's awesome. At some point this year, maybe?
Well, written at least.
Written.
Yeah.
What is the process between you and George? Obviously, this is a duo. Do you show up with songs fully formed? Does he show up with beats fully formed? Is it more collaborative? How does it kind of work between you guys?
Well, we just did some writing in Jamaica, and for that particular trip, I had some writing time by myself. So I was writing on the guitar and the piano, and leaving the songs really rough and very, very open to interpretation. And then we were just in the studio, and he would start experimenting with different beats, things that he'd worked on before, or starting from scratch. And there's a moment usually where I hear him doing something and I'm like, wait, that works with, and I'll pull something out that I've written to a completely different set of chords and a different vibe. Like Last Kiss was totally different. It was like really sad, like cry snot. And the kind of collaboration of his kind of happy vibe in the music and the sadness of the lyrics, and then he just kind of helped me bring out that repetitiveness in the chorus, and it just sat much. It was finished then.
I guess I'm curious what you guys find in each other musically. Do you like that it is either that he can sort of change your ideas or a formation, or is it an inspiration? Is it like collaborative or competitive? And kind of
that is the most exciting part of it, honestly, because I know when I'm kind of writing a song, I know I have the lyrics and the idea, and I know that I have the idea that a certain note that I sing should probably go with a certain piano melody or something like that. But the rest of it, I just have no idea. And that's exciting for me. It's like, what home is this song gonna go to?
Do you think that going forward, you know, Turn Up the Love getting such a positive reaction and you being able to say, this is kind of an answer to a political atmosphere, are you interested in speaking more about that in your music? Are you more comfortable putting that out there now?
I think what I'm really interested in is inspiring people whose job it actually is going to be, people who are educating themselves. I don't profess to be educated, and I don't think that should stop anyone from being political, honestly. But what I'm really interested in what other people are doing. So I kind of feel like I want to start hearing about what projects people are doing, what communities are being built, and to show some love for them and help them to build those communities. Because I'm a global artist. I can go around, but I can't stay, and I can't continue to build something. And so it's quite irresponsible for me to sort of start something and then just leave it.
Right, right, that's true. Thinking about when you're even going to find time to write, the reason you were about to be so busy is obviously you were joining the Coldplay tour this fall. That actually your first date with them is tomorrow at MetLife Stadium. What are you looking forward to? I mean, those are some of the biggest rooms that anyone books.
I'm actually really looking forward to seeing my new costumes. I found this seamstress in LA very recently, and she's been working day and night to finish some costumes, so I haven't even tried them on yet. And they are my red theme.
Okay.
She made that cape thing.
Cape thing.
Yes.
That's the technical term, cape thing.
Cape thing, yeah. It's not fully a cape.
Right.
It's more of a tassel top.
I'm into that. Yeah, we'll keep
more tassels to come anyway.
I guess I'm curious about what you see the relationship between fashion and music is then. Does it feel important to you to pick new outfits, a new look with every new batch of music?
That just seems to be what happens, even if I try and wear the same thing. I have a whole bunch of costumes from my last support tour that I did with Sia, and I'm not using them. I thought I was going to save some money. But I just have, I'll start drawing something and I'll be like, all right, well, now we have to make that. And I think that the relationship is really about in imagination, to spark the imagination. So like this I call it a costume, was started to be sort of inspired by the girls being more prevalent in superhero kind of stories.
That's awesome.
I was really excited to hear about Nubia, who's the sister of Wonder Woman. So that you can see the kind of vague theme. This is actually a vintage swimming costume, so I didn't actually design that. But when I saw it, I was like, I'm going to wear that. That's ridiculous. Sure. And I just, the idea of feeling just a touch ridiculous and a touch part of some kind of invention is just gets me on stage in the right mood.
Right. I was going to say, does it help you sort of feel like you're in theme, in character, like about to go out in front of people in a different way to perform?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's what certain clothes, that's what they're there for. Like this skirt makes me feel like I'm in Greece, right. The film, which is good.
Which is great. Let's talk about the Sia tour a little bit, because she also has an enormous fandom all over the world and great songs and this sort of ridiculously big rig and production that she tours with. What was the most surprising thing for you maybe to experience that, to be on the road with that?
I think as a singer, it was definitely the level of singing that she was doing live every night. Right. There was no holding back. And yes, she was standing in her costume and wasn't dancing and things like that. But even if I was singing with that much power every night for the whole show, I'm not sure how I would sustain that. So that's just excellence.
When you look at these people like Coldplay and Sia who book places like MetLife and the big arenas and everything, is that the size career AlunaGeorge wants? Is there something daunting or exciting about that, or what do you feel in that regard?
Well, when you're on the stage and you've got that sort of earlier slot, of course you imagine what it would be like to have the main show, but then you see the main show and you're like, wow, now there's a while before I'm going to be able to put that together in the way that I would want to. But it's exciting to think about. It's like, maybe I would have this, maybe I would have that, and a massive flying pigeon for the UK vibes.
I like that. What do you get out of performing? I mean, when we talk about acting and we talk about performing, that's so different than sort of the private moments of writing a song. What does that sort of feed you creatively?
What's the difference between those two kind of...
Like, what do you get out of each in a different way?
Well, the writing side of things is like my pure geek zone. Usually I forget to eat. Nobody can get me to do anything. I get told that I have this real concentration thing to me where as soon as I start something, you just can't get me to do anything else until I've finished. And I love that. That's one of my favourite personal skills of my own. Doesn't matter about anything else. And then the stage performance element is kind of the complete opposite, you know? It's an extroverted zone. So I would say it's sometimes it's a challenge for me to get out there, but it is a part of my personality, and it has been since I was a kid. I would do performances for the parents, and I did think it was fantastic. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's all the time we have for questions from me, but we have some in the audience who have stuff they want to ask.
Fantastic.
Hi.
Hi.
So you've collaborated with a bunch of different electronic DJs and producers in the past, so I was wondering who in the future you would really like to work with.
Well, that tends to be not something I ever think about. It's just a bit of fun that happens as I go along. You know, we tour so much and we go to so many festivals, so we meet lots of fun people, and that is often how something like that comes about. You know, somebody's like, "Hey, come to the studio," and you're like, "Oh, I think I might actually, yeah."
That's awesome. We've got another one.
Hi. So you've played a lot of festivals like Coachella, Gov Ball, Made in America, and many others. What were those experiences like for you?
Well, I just really enjoy the challenge of an audience that's made up of lots of people that don't know me, and see how they react to songs that they don't know, and how the people that do know me kind of integrate with those people to create this kind of vibe of like openness to newness. And the festival vibe obviously has people loose and fantastic. So I love seeing what they get up to, nips out and all that.
And then we've got one more.
Hey.
Hi.
How much creative control do you get with your music videos?
Well, that's up to us and the director. I definitely get involved as much as I can, but what I really enjoy is to see a brief from a director that is, you know, sums it up in one sentence, and then I know they have a really strong idea. And the thing is about directors is that you get the best out of them when you let them be inspired by the music rather than coming up with an idea that they have to fulfill. But I do have vague ideas of directing a music video myself, but I already have a job, so.
That's awesome, you guys. That's all we have for today. Turn Up the Love and Last Kiss are out. You guys are on tour tomorrow. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, guys.